Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the City Council, and also to the community. I appreciate the opportunity to update you at tonight's meeting, but also the entire community about an item that is, of course, of serious public safety concern, and that's the dog bite incidents on Currey Lane. So the dog bites occurred, just in summary, the dog bites occurred on January 21st, so now we're a few weeks later. When that happened, there were really 3 victims, 2 that were mauled, viciously attacked and bitten, and 1 man was actually chased into the back of his truck to escape being bit by the dogs, these 2 dogs. The dogs live at a residence on Currey Lane, and they were loose without supervision, and no one was walking them. They weren't on leash. And unprovoked, they attacked these men across the street from the residence. The men were hurt seriously. They had to be taken to the hospital for emergency care and be treated for their wounds. So officers from the Marin Humane Society responded, officers from Sausalito Police Department responded, and of course medics and firefighters from the fire department responded, all to render aid and of course try and get these dogs corralled and back home. The follow-up is that what happens next? That's what everybody wants to know. How quickly will this be resolved and what happens? So in a case like this, we do our best to assist the Humane Society with their investigation. We, like every other city and also the county of Marin, in Marin County, we're a contract agency with the Marin Humane Society for Animal Control Services. So the responsibility for the investigation lies with them, but we simply just don't wash our hands of it and walk away. We do what we can to help them complete that investigation. The end result for the Humane Society is to create petitions. And the petitions are what in our words would be like a police report. And they submit them to the Marin County District Attorney's Office, to the Consumer Protection Unit, to 2 particular individuals, attorneys that work in that division, who act as the hearing officers for dog bite cases or other cases brought forward by Marin Humane Society. So that's where those petitions are now. Those petitions were delivered on Monday. I reviewed them myself on both Thursday and Friday last week after the Humane Society completed their work. And so sometime we think in the next 2 weeks, the hearing will take place about those dogs. And the owner of the dogs is certainly very aware of what occurred. He is actually being cooperative. The dogs were left to be quarantined in place at the house. And I know people find that very disturbing. It is actually one of the options under the ordinance to allow that to occur. The quarantine in place for the 10 days is actually to have them checked for rabies. And the dogs came back negative for rabies and within that 10-day period. And so the dogs were no longer quarantined at home, but kept at home. The Humane Society had a very pointed conversation with the dog owner about those dogs need to be left, and watched and secured on the premises, so not be allowed to get out. On the occasion that the dog bites did happen, the dogs happened to get out an open front door. And so we believe that nothing has happened since that day. However, there was a call for service on the 29th about dogs running loose, and the Sausalito officers responded, and so did the Marin Humane Society officers. But the dogs were, upon arrival, the dogs were not loose, and the dogs were secured in the yard at the house where they live. So we don't have any way of knowing. There was no one there to assist with, like, maybe the dogs get out. So we don't really know. That's a little bit of a known. So that's the best we could do with that. We don't have an eyewitness about the dogs. We did have somebody that called, but nobody that was there to tell us. And so when the Humane Society and we arrived, dogs were already secured. So it's Humane Society's belief is the dogs, in fact, were not out. But at this point, I don't know that it does matter, because we want to have some confidence that the dog owner is being responsible about keeping those dogs in the house, because none of us want to see those dogs somehow get loose again. And so we're all waiting for the petition hearing date to be set. And, we're all hopeful that the two injured men will recover from their injuries. They're pretty savagely bitten. We do know that those same two animals were involved in a dog bite incident in 2016. And same location, area, and neighborhood. The Humane Society included that incident in the petition on this particular case because it shows a prior incident. And it becomes relevant as the petition goes forward so the hearing officers can see that it's not the first time that these dogs have attacked somebody on the street. But again, there's a legal process to follow. I know people are very concerned, and I know that they would like us to go and take those dogs and do something with them. We clearly aren't equipped to do that. We have no kennels and nobody to do that. That's why we contract with the Humane Society. I do understand that people are upset and nervous about it. I'm sure you're going to hear from a few of them tonight. And it's not that we disagree. It's just that there is a process for this to go forward. If the owner knows that if those dogs get out and they're impounded by the Humane Society officers, he's not going to get them back until the hearing is over. And I'm imagining he doesn't want that to happen. So he has a vested interest in making sure those dogs are secure. However, there is some fear in the community, and I thought I would update you on that.
Great. Thank you very much. We really appreciate that. And so this is just an announcement and special presentation at this point. Thank you so much.
Good evening, Council members. My card is a little out of order. I'm basically standing to support my wife, Kay Moore, and Dennis Webb, who began this new movement, but she is the one that was attacked in 2016. And I speak as a longtime dog walker on that street, and a person who's lived in Sausalito for 45 years. So my wishes are to get this taken care of with the Humane Society. I see that as the weak link, not the police department. I know the deal was done years ago to give the Humane Society this type of power, but there's something amiss in that arrangement. And so I'm here to just state that and hope that we can move a little bit differently with the Humane Department. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Dennis, Kay Moore. So if everyone could stand up and if your name has been called, and then Steve Stevens, and after that, Betsy Stafford. Thank you.
Good evening, Council.
Dennis.
Thank you for letting me speak. So a couple weeks ago, 2 of my workers got mauled really bad. But I want to start off, saying that somebody gave me a few of their minutes to share because this is really important and it's about public safety. So I'd like to ask for
so Dennis,
6 minutes.
I'm sorry, but the Brown Act and the protocol is you get 3 minutes. So
unless somebody else can donate their 3 minutes to me.
No, that's not part of our rules. So thank you. So
anyway,
we'll pause the clock. We'll just clarify for everyone that it's 3 minutes for everybody. It's to be fair, and I apologize that you weren't aware of that, but that's the way the meetings are run.
Okay, no problem. I want to start off 4 years ago. I was bit very bad by a dog, and so was approximately 13 people here in Sausalito. They were documented, confirmed. There's case numbers, okay? It was by Cheryl Pop's dog, Sparky. Everyone knows Cheryl. There was an incident that happened here at City Hall at Park and Rec where Jeremy Holt got bit really bad. Ambulance came, the dog got removed. Nothing happened. 12 other bites happened since, me being one of them. People in the face, hands, we're talking close to $500,000 worth of stuff. Nobody is enforcing dog bites here in Sausalito. We need a vicious dog unit type thing where one person can track it and take care of this. Numerous emails, numerous phone calls, nothing. To Humane Society, to police department, they don't know how to handle it. There's no rules. Regulations are, recently 2 of my men got mauled here in Sausalito. Bad. 2 different times of the day. Morning time and afternoon. Both of them taken away. In the afternoon, Sean was taken away by ambulance. In the morning, fire, police came. He was able to drive away. There's rules and regulations and laws and ordinances that say that if 2 dog bites happen and they're punctured, the dogs would be immediately removed. These are ordinances from the animal control department, and they're not even following their own ordinance. To this day, these dogs are still out there. Now they're coming out at night. They're barking through the night because they know that the heat's on them. The gentleman who owns the dogs is a public defender in San Francisco. His name's Daniel Myers. He's 35 years old. He's had 6 dog bites. 2 of them 2 weeks ago, 1 of them 3 years ago, and a couple of them scattered in between. These dogs have been seen on Glen Drive, on Spencer, on Cloudview, on Johnson Street. They just go for occasional walks. They go in, they go out. It's like they have the password to the gate. We've asked animal control, can you check the property for a breach? They will not check. We've asked the police department to check for a breach. Now, if I was a police officer, I don't know if I would want to do that because I have not been trained to do that. So nobody is checking for a breach. To this day, these dogs have gotten out 2 times, confirmed by 2 separate people on Currey Lane. So they basically have gotten out again. There's young mothers with these fancy double strollers. I saw one yesterday. She was talking on her telephone. The one little girl in the lower stroller looked like she was around 2. The other one looked like she was around 3. She's talking on her cell phone. I says, you know, there were some incidents here the other day with dogs. And she goes, yeah, I heard some dogs here. And I says, I want to walk right around here.
Okay.
What's going to happen is, Dan.
Thank you, Dennis. So we understand this is a very important issue to you, so thank you for coming. Kay Moore.
Hello, I'm Kay Moore, and I've lived in Sausalito for 44 years. I'm not surprised with what Dennis has reported, because the same thing happened to me 4 years ago when I and my little pug Poppy were walking up the lane, Currey Lane. I saw the dogs ahead of me about 75 yards. I knew these dogs were dangerous, or I was wary of them. So I turned around to walk down. One of Dan Meyer's friends had the dogs out. He started screaming at me, pick up your dog, showing that he knew that these dogs were dangerous. I retreated, but before I could even pick up my dog, these dogs were on top of me. They pushed me, they slammed me down to the cement. They bit my arm. They took my dog, Poppy, by the neck. They wouldn't release her. I was so traumatized. My arm was bleeding. Finally, they ripped through Poppy's halter and let her go. And honestly, to this day, I am still suffer from PTSD. This is a horrible incident. Dan Myers has had the opportunity to do something about this, and he has not done anything. And it's just a matter of time before these dogs take out a child and kill the child.
Great, thank you very much. Steve Stevens.
Thank you. Good evening, Council. I'm a good friend of Moira Konzelman's. She owns the home that Dennis Webb's crew is working on. And I go up there often to assist her in organizing and moving things about while he's doing the renovation on the home. I wasn't up there in the day of these attacks, but I'm up there often. I park my car where these trucks were parked often, and I'm living in fear. I went out and bought a couple of small cans of pepper spray and carried a stick for a while, but you know, it's a really concern for me, and I don't see that there's any hope for anything being done within the next 2 weeks. 3 weeks, what am I supposed to do? What are we supposed to do up on Currey Lane? I don't have to get impassioned because you've just heard 2 people. The only other thing I'd like to mention is I've worked in Sausalito for 25 years, and I've lived in Mill Valley, but I spend most of my time on the waterfront in Sausalito. Every single day, I see 3 to 6 dogs or more separate that are off leash. I was charged by one a couple of years ago at the harbor, off leash. I went directly to the police department. There's nothing they could do because I don't have a picture, so now I carry myself. But I'm just saying, this is an isolated instance that's happened now over a period of 3 or 4 years. Violent dogs, there needs to be something done because someone's, as this lady just said, there's a lot of young children on that street as well, not just, you know, small dogs. So it's an issue that needs to be taken care of in the entire city of Sausalito. The leash law needs to be much more strictly enforced. Anyway, thank you for your service, all of you. Good night.
Great, thank you very much. Betsy Stafford, Bob Stafford, Moira Konzelman, and John DeRay.
Hi,
Hi, good evening.
Madam Mayor. Thank you. Thank you, council members. I'm Betsy Stafford, 260 Currey Lane. I've been a member of, resident of Sausalito for 44 years. I'm going to ask you to imagine, and I want you to pretend you're coming out of my house, living on the same street as these two dogs. Imagine you decide to go out on a walk alone, and even better, God forbid, you decide to walk with your little 11-pound dog or your 30-pound toddler, human toddler. Before you walk out the door, you be sure to reach for your can of pepper spray. Put it in your right-hand pocket. Then you put your dog or your child on a short leash, not a long one, in your left hand. And then you go grab your metal walking stick in your right hand and go out for a walk. And then the dog won't turn to the right because the dogs are already barking 2 doors away. This is a place that Currey Lane is a place where everybody used to come and walk all the time, a special turnaround for your walks. Nobody comes anymore. It's really empty. I mean, we are frightened. That's just how I prepare for a simple walk, and that is fear. We are really frightened of these dogs. They've already mauled all these humans, and the dogs too. Please, I beg you, do something.
Thank you. Bob Stafford?
Hi, I'm Bob Stafford. I've lived here just about as long as she has. And after 40 years on Cloudview Road, we moved to Currey Lane, so there weren't quite so many steps. Anyway, you've heard quite enough about this, I think. I'll simply say that when the Humane Society comes and talks to you, you'd think they were constitutional scholars. They pull out an iPad that shows the Fourth Amendment on it. And as you may know, the Fourth Amendment prohibits arbitrary search and seizure of your home, which is your castle, right? The problem is, in that Fourth Amendment, which I'd be happy to read to you at your leisure, even though it's very short, it has 2 key provisions: probable cause, and what's the other one? Probable cause. What did I say the other one was? Well, anyway, they're both met in this situation, and somehow the Humane Society, which is I think the issue here, has this, in my opinion, faulty interpretation of the Fourth Amendment where they're paralyzed. And unless you have the ability to take a video of a dog while he's attacking you instead of defending yourself, they don't think there's any evidence. So to me, the issue is broader than our situation. It is the policy the Humane Society has. Anyway,
Great, thank you very much. Thank you. Moira Konzelman, John DeRay, Carlo Berg, Jeff Jacobs, and Carol Cotton. If everybody whose name has been called could stand up, that would be great.
Hello, everyone. My name is Moira Konzelman, and I've lived in Sausalito for over 32 years, and at 285 Currey Lane, which is the only home on the court. I have a very steep driveway, and when Mr. Meyer moved in, and I thought he was married, the first person I met was this woman who was apparently having the dogs loose, and I was coming down my very steep driveway, and I almost hit them. So I stopped and told her that there's leash laws in Sausalito, and that the dogs need to be on a walk with a leash on, and she seemed to understand that. A couple of nights later, the man was walking these 2 dogs, and the dogs had a leash on their collar, but they were running loose with the leash on. And so I just want to say there's a lot of people, elderly people, everybody with kids walking to the court, trying to enjoy a nice walk in the neighborhood. They can't do that anymore. And after the incidents And with Dennis going back and spending a lot of time, and with the 2 incidents and the police coming and the Humane Society and the fire department, nothing's been done. It's been almost 2 weeks or maybe more, and now we're finding out nothing will be really forthcoming for another 2 weeks maybe. Meanwhile, the man who was mauled on the face, he had to get his rabies shots. And, you know, I don't know what's happening with Mr. Meyer. He needs to step up and obey the law. And these dogs are coming in and out somewhere. How can we just ignore this when we have the safety issues that we're living under? I feel like I'm in a siege too, because my mailbox is down at the bottom of my steep driveway. I never go down and pick up my mail anymore. Stephen comes over and picks it up for me. So it's just incredible that the Humane Society is using the Fourth Amendment and nothing is being done. And it's clear that the dogs are coming out somehow, and they've been seen on the road, but everyone needs to have a camera or take a photo, and who knows what's going to happen any time now. It's just very volatile. And I ask, please, that all of us in this room, concerned citizens, and you, help us fix this problem. There's got to be some responsible party that stands up and says, you know, until we figure this out, let's get those dogs out of some sort of home. Well, thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. John DeRay?